Good evening and welcome to the new BUGAJSKI Hour. I am happy to be back in Pristina to examine important global and local developments that affect the lives of all Kosovars. And today I will be focusing on important security questions with my guest on the BUGAJSKI hot seat, the commander of KFOR, General Salvatore Cuoci. But first, my political commentary on a key international topic is entitled America's Political Vacuum. American politics has become so polarized that a vacuum is forming for the majority of the population. While Donald Trump has virtually turned the Republican Party into his personal vehicle, primary elections for Congress indicate that the Democratic Party is moving leftward and will alienate an increasing number of voters. The majority of congressional Republicans have become acquiescent towards Trump, either because they agree with his agenda or because they fear being ousted by his voters. A record number of 31 Republicans in the House of Representatives are not seeking re-election in the November midterms. Meanwhile, a new crop of pro-Trump candidates is appealing to the president's voter base in Republican-majority states. On the Democrat side, recent primaries indicate that leftist progressives may be taking over the party. In one significant victory, a self-declared democratic socialist easily defeated the establishment Democrat in New York. A grassroots movement among Democrats rejects moderate centrism and is reminiscent of the ultra-rightist Tea Party rebellion in the Republican Party over a decade ago. However, support for their socialist economic policies will estrange them from centrists and swing voters. In an increasingly polarized political climate, a growing number of disillusioned centrists, moderates, and independents feel that neither party represents them. For many years, talk of a third party has been dismissed as unrealistic. The two major formations were considered big tents that could incorporate a spectrum of policy positions. With the moderates losing control within both parties, the time may finally be ripening for establishing a new centrist organization that can represent the majority of US citizens. In addition to political alienation among older citizens, recent polls found that support among new voters for both Democrats and Republicans has also dropped dramatically in recent years. An increasing number are calling for the formation of a distinct party to distance themselves from radical leftists and ultra-rightists. Creating a new nationwide party will be fraught with financial and policy challenges and opposition from both Republican and Democrat leaders. It could take several election cycles before voters recognize it as a viable alternative to the two major parties. However, as both Republicans and Democrats are battling over what was once considered fringe politics, the revolt of the center could appear as a new force on the political horizon. It is time now for the BUGAJSKI hot seat with my special guest, the commander of KFOR, General Salvatore Cuoci. Thank you for joining us on the show, General. Welcome to the show.
Thank you to you for your invitation.
I have a lot of questions to cover, but to begin with, can you tell us a little bit about your career background, your achievements in the military, in the Italian armed forces, as well as in NATO, including where you have served before Kosovo?
Well, basically I'm a major general. This is a two-star general. And to get to this point, my career went through different appointments, schools, and my education was mostly in Italy, but also in the US. I was also in War College, US War College in Carlisle, a student, and that was very worth for my career and also for my knowledge. And then I started in operation in Bosnia, in Lebanon, and in Kosovo as my latest appointment. I was also a commander. I basically belongs to the cavalry unit, and I'm very proud of that. And this is also a way also to think differently from the others, let me say. And this is also, well, gave me the possibility also to be in command in some cavalry units. I was the brigade commander in the air mobile units. And my staff appointments were related mostly to the army staff and I was the military assistant for my president, for President Napolitano, for those that will remember him. And I was also the chief of cabinet of the chief of the army. That was my latest appointment. So being in Kosovo is an honor because well, it's something that serving under NATO and being a NATO commander, having 28 nations contributing to the KFOR mission, this is something very worth and is something to be proud. And it's also a challenge because we have also to be ready to react and be ready anyway to lead this coalition of nations that relies on you.
Absolutely, and again, thank you for your service to our common alliance. I think every generation needs reminding of how important NATO is to international security. Can you sort of comment on this? Why is NATO so important even now, 20 so years after the Cold War?
Well, consider that NATO, since the Second World War, is basically in place and is still providing peace. And NATO is absolutely a successful story. If you consider that many countries have joined NATO, and this is for basically peaceful reasons. It's not to make war at all, but it's just to create an environment, a political, economic, and peaceful environment in which a nation can contribute also to guarantee the peace abroad their borders. And so mainly if we consider that the evolution of NATO itself is absolutely a successful story, and I think that everybody likes it. So it's not part of to make war, but it's part also to contribute to the world peace, and this is basically what NATO is taking care of.
And just to follow on from that, I mean, one of the important aspects of NATO is to keep America inside Europe to help guarantee European security. If you remember the initial principles of NATO.
Yeah, this is an I would say North Atlantic Treaty. That was the name then of NATO, but at the same time is the real link that is unifying the Western world. But not only the Western world, because we are enlarging also the community and the countries that are joining NATO. NATO, I think, is still providing the security, and also this is the need why, this is the reason why many countries, they are trying to join NATO, because that will be well, a sort of common understanding of the security issues, and a common way also to deal with each other in a peaceful way.
I want to come back to the enlargement question in a few minutes, but NATO intervened, first ground operation was in 1999 in Kosovo. Since then we've had the KFOR mission. Can you explain to us, to our viewers, but also to our viewers in America, the significance of the KFOR mission? How it has evolved over the years, why it still remains important?
KFOR, okay, let's start from the very beginning. And in 1999, when KFOR was on the ground, we had 55,000 soldiers, KFOR soldiers, in place. Now we have roughly 4,000. That means that the situation is getting better. So I would say that KFOR is the most successful story for NATO as well. And considering that this number of soldiers that is deeply decreased, I mean, it's the sign that Kosovo is maturing, that Kosovo is taking care of his own population, and the institution in Kosovo, they are really improved. And this is the sign that things are getting better. Now, why KFOR is still in place? This is because we are, according to our military plans, in deterrence phase. That means that we are still here in case of something can escalate, since the situation is not fixed yet. So if the situation will escalate, we have forces on the ground deployed in Kosovo, but we have also forces deployed out of the horizon, and is a consistent reserve that will be able to intervene when necessary. There are some challenges, and we are taking care of these challenges, but we are looking forward to get to the next phase of the mission, that will be the minimum presence. And that will mean that there are all the conditions set, because the number of soldiers can be even more. For the time being, what we have seen is that the institution, they have provided a very good environment in which the security organization of Kosovo are grown, and that means that also the police has achieved so many results, and we are very happy about that, because that means that they are able of taking care of the situation. As a matter of fact, you know that KFOR is the third responder. That means that we have the Kosovo police as the first responder. The ULEX is the second responder, and KFOR is the third responder. So if there will be an escalation of the situation, these three actors will face the situation according to this plan of intervention.
So what would be the main security challenges as you see them here in Kosovo? I mean, what is it that you would respond to, would be mobilized to thwart or deter?
Well, we have different challenges, and also from the political side, we are taking care of the stability of the political environment in Kosovo. We are taking care of the issues that are related to the public disturbance, and that can occur in the case of some challenges that Kosovo will face. There is still the specialist court in place, and so we are waiting for the results of the specialist court. And of course, so far, people of Kosovo has fully demonstrated to be a mature approach towards these problems. If we consider what happened during the last election that we had, they were held in a very peaceful climate, and everything was smooth, demonstrating full maturity to approach the new era of Kosovo in taking responsibility. So if that will be the case, KFOR is no more necessary, because Kosovo people would take care of themselves, of their security, and their capability also to manage with their issues. But if that won't happen, of course, KFOR is still here just to sustain the system and sustain the peaceful development of these issues. So KFOR is trying to set the condition, and the condition for reducing its presence, but that means that we are not abandoned the country, Kosovo, but that means that things are getting better. So having less forces, less KFOR forces on the ground, that means that, things are getting better. It's a good sign.
Yeah, it's. I'm trying to compare the situation to Bosnia, where NATO was also present in a big way and scaled down its force. And now some are saying maybe there is not enough of a presence. The European Union force, you've had experience in Bosnia, the European Union force in Bosnia is not capable on its own without some sort of NATO input if there was to be a breakdown in violence. You don't see any such situation in Kosovo then?
Not for the time being. I mean, this mission, KFOR mission, is not time-based. Mm-hmm. Is condition-based. So until the condition will be set, nothing will change. We can, I mean, decrease the forces, but this is due to an assessment that the situation is getting better. Mm-hmm. So after 19 years, we have plenty of time. So yeah. We can be here forever, but in our view, the most the institution in Kosovo will achieve in order to also guarantee capabilities and to manage it, to run the country by themselves, as it is now, and the more will be room for our assessment to reduce our forces. But that does mean that NATO will be out of Kosovo. Mm-hmm. That means that KFOR as mission will be out of Kosovo, but NATO will be continuing to assist Kosovo in its development and its growth.
And you'd have a over-the-horizon force, as in the case of Bosnia?
In any case, mm-hmm. Let's consider that also in the case of Bosnia, we do have a contingency plan, mm-hmm. That we are providing also assistance to Bosnia if it's necessary, and mm-hmm. This is part of our plan. But we have a consistent number of soldiers out of the horizon, so they will be able to reach the country, to be deployed in the country in very few days. Mm-hmm. And this is basically our strength. Yeah.
Well, what is the level of cooperation, interoperability between KFOR and local agencies, police, Kosovo Security Force, intelligence here, and so forth?
I think this is essential because this is a part of our mission. So cooperation with the security organization of Kosovo is something that we are taking care, and we are dealing, I would say, on daily basis. Mm-hmm. Part of KFOR mission is also to assist the security organization and the institution in Kosovo. So we are conducting also training, joint training together. We are conducting also, we are patrolling together, mm-hmm. and mainly with the Kosovo police. Mm-hmm. And the Kosovo police, they have increased their capabilities in managing their issue at high standard level. Mm-hmm. I would say the same for the KSF, even though the KSF for the time being they are more civil defense, so we are also supporting and sustaining the KSF in their development under this current mandate. And so there are also link with the intelligence agencies and also with the institution in general. To be honest, this cooperation is not only with the Kosovo institution, but is also with Serbia at the same time, and with all the surrounding countries, because we are taking care of the regional stability in a way. So our presence is to be balanced, also with being a neutral force, mm-hmm. has to be balanced also with the Serbian side. Mm-hmm. So this is the reason why we have regular meetings with mm-hmm. both sides in order also to evaluate the situation and to take proper action in order also to de-escalate the situation when necessary.
Mm-hmm. I know there were some problems with security breaches at Pristina airport in recent years. Is KFOR now in charge of security at Pristina airport?
Not at all. We are in charge of the airspace of Kosovo.
The airspace, right.
Because this is still in mm-hmm. KFOR hands. We have released the upper space, but the lower space, where basically where the helicopters are flying, is still in concave for ends. So in the reality, we assess that there are some security issues related to the safety of the air safety, and that means the flying, I mean whatever is flying, and this is safe. We checked regularly, and we have different meetings with them, with different also checks, and basically everything is regular. So we can assess that.
I feel more secure now traveling every month.
Yeah,
so.
well, for the airport, the things are quite different, because who is in charge is the Special Commission from the European Union, of course, and so they have to be compliant with the instruction of this agency. So, but basically, well, we can say that the air safety is granted.
Good. Let me ask you about Camp Bondsteel. How does the mission and the role of Camp Bondsteel differ from the overall KFOR mission in Kosovo?
There is no difference, because Camp Bondsteel is a US camp that is hosting US soldiers, but not only US soldiers. And this is the headquarters for the Multinational Battle Group East unit. So this unit is a subunit of KFOR, and we have two multinational battle groups. One is operating in the east of Kosovo, and the other one in the west of Kosovo. The west is under the Italian lead, while the east is under the US lead. Basically, Camp Bondsteel is only a base, a compound that is provided by the US, as the West is provided by the Italians. But anyway, they are hosting also Polish, Turkish. So there are several nations, and basically there is no issue related to Camp Bondsteel. Most of the time we heard that Camp Bondsteel has been appointed as the US presence in the Balkans. But this is basically something that is not true, because it's just a NATO base managed by the US, but their mission is absolutely under NATO control.
Looking at the broader region, you mentioned cooperation with Serbia. What is your view of this Serbian-Russian humanitarian center in Niš, which is just over the border from Kosovo?
Well, we have no problem with that. I mean, we respect, first of all, the Serbian neutrality. Serbia has different partners. They train much more with NATO than with Russia. This center is basically voted to civil defense. So they are training, and they are a center for civil defense. And until the situation will be in this way, there is no issue at all. I mean, Serbia is a country that can decide what should be, how to express their gravity. They have declared their neutrality, and we are very happy, and we are respecting this neutrality. But their choice are national choice, and for sure, for what we know, the Niš Center is a humanitarian center, and that's fine.
Well, our intelligence agencies dispute that it's a humanitarian center, but that it's an intelligence gathering center. In addition, there is now evidence that they're training nationalist militias for the Republika Srpska, for Bosnia and Herzegovina. In other words, that it's more than, it's a cover as a humanitarian center, but it's engaged in other operations. Do you have any comment on that?
Well, if you have the evidences of that, that's fine.
Not me personally, but our intelligence service certainly do.
Yeah, for us it's a humanitarian center.
Okay. Well, let me ask you sort of broader regional security questions. We continue from America to look at the Balkans as potentially unstable. Inter-ethnic war, violent social unrest, potential terrorism, from inside or outside the region. Do you see any of these as a challenge, as a potential challenge in the region?
Well, they are still there. I mean, and this is the reason why we are still here. So basically, these are the challenges that we are looking for. And these are the challenges that we are taking care of. Basically, we do have challenges. And what is the real challenge for Europe is that whatever is happening in one of these countries is not related to the single entity or the single country. That will have an effect on all the region. And KFOR presence is also, a NATO presence in the Balkans is a sort of a provider of stability for the entire region. So it's not, the mission is not Kosovo per se mission, but it's a regional mission. Considering that, well, whatever will happen in one of these countries will affect anyway the entire stability of the region. We cannot afford to be back to 20 years ago, 25 years ago. So we have to move forward, and it's time to take action. It's not time of war anymore. It's time to, well, bring people around the table and let's shape the future for the benefit of the population of the Balkans. I think this is the most important challenge that we have. And we are part of this challenge because we are doing our job, and everything is related to this. So there is a growing interest in trying to find a solution for the Balkans. Kosovo and Serbia are part of this problem, are part of this solution, but anyway, the international community is working on that, and this is also what NATO is trying to do.
Talking about the wider region, it's a very good point that KFOR isn't just ensuring stability in Kosovo, but generating that stability, security to the wider region. We have evidence that Russia conducted a coup attempt in Montenegro a couple of years ago. Montenegro has since become a member of NATO. Do you see any other potential forms of Russian subversion that could destabilize the region, something that we're very concerned about in Washington?
Well, if you see the region, everybody has an interest in the region, including Russians. So I cannot exclude that they will have a role in, also in, they would like to have a role more important in the region. And considering that, well, all around Serbia and Kosovo, the countries have joined NATO, the EU, or are on the way to join NATO or the EU. Well, if you see just Serbia and Kosovo, they are an island within this country, no? And so until they will continue to be an island, there will be room to anyway exert influence and try to be present in the region.
Right. Well, as I said, Montenegro joined NATO last year. There's now an invitation to Macedonia also to join NATO, if indeed they agree politically in parliament and referendum in Macedonia and also in Greece. How would that affect regional stability, Macedonia's membership?
I don't think that will be an issue for anyone, considering that also Montenegro was not an issue. They joined NATO, and they are still on the way to join KFOR as well. So that's very fine. Macedonia was not a new. I mean, was not a news because they were willing to join NATO as well, and NATO posture on NATO posture on the region is an open door. So if they are complying with the tasks and
the criteria.
The criteria from NATO, that will be, they are very welcome. And consider that this is in some case also the pre-chamber to join the EU as well. So we had several countries, Croatia, Slovenia, Montenegro, Albania. So they are Romania, Hungary, Bulgaria, so they are already joined NATO. And this is an important signal that the value of the Western countries and what NATO is expressing is something that is also well, shared in these places. Even Kosovo is a natural future, will be in NATO, so it's a matter of time, but for the time being they are declaring in any occasion that they will join NATO, and they consider themselves as NATO partners. So that will happen one day when they will meet their criteria, the criteria that NATO has established for them. But for sure, well, I think that the future of the entire region is
within NATO.
Yeah, is within NATO,
including Serbia.
Why not? I mean, in the future, if they are willing to, in that case, the EU could be the pre-chamber of NATO. Well, we are just speculating, but in any case, Serbia is an independent country. They can decide by themselves in which way they would like to cooperate with the European countries and join the EU, and also if they are willing to join other alliance, they are very welcome. For the time being, what we respect is their neutrality. It's clear. I told you before that well, they are training with both NATO and Russia. There is no problem at all. Absolutely nothing that can be a threat for Europe or for NATO. So I think that each country has to decide by themselves. They are on their own on this decision, and of course they have also to assess what is the best for them, for their citizens, and for their stability.
As you said, Serbian forces train with NATO quite regularly. They cannot eventually be a member of both NATO and the Collective Security Treaty Organization, the Tashkent Treaty. They have to belong to one or the other or remain neutral. But your vision, your view is that eventually Serbia will be part of the alliance.
Well, we will see. This is another challenge, but this is their choice. I mean, it's something that they have to choose. But we, once again, we are very happy about their neutrality. We respect their neutrality. There is no problem for us to, if Serbia is out of the alliance or within the alliance. Basically, this is a choice that has to be also matured by people themselves. So it's something that if they will, that will come.
Two other countries, of course, Bosnia-Herzegovina, where you served, and Kosovo itself. In Bosnia, there's been a problem with one of the questions has been military property in terms of them qualifying for a membership action plan for NATO. Do you see that being, some progress being made there after the elections?
I think they're working on that because I think they want to solve this problem because NATO for them is very attractive. So I think that they will deal with this problem, and when they will meet the criteria, they can start the process for to join the alliance. But this is the challenge that they have.
Yeah. Well, the challenge also is Republika Srpska, which is a strong, increasing Russian influence. And Russia certainly does not want NATO enlargement, as we saw both with Montenegro and the campaign they're now staging against Macedonia. So do you see Russia as potentially preventing Bosnia-Herzegovina from joining NATO?
Well, whatever big nations can do, at the end is a decision of the people. So people will decide what to do. I mean, if they will allow to make it, to do it, they will choose for their best. I mean, and I think we should respect their choice, whatever it will be.
If they're allowed that free choice. Let me ask you about Kosovo, because there's been a lot of debate and some moves towards establishing a military force here, which would help Kosovo to enter NATO. Where do you see things developing? What needs to be done? What are the steps that would need to be taken?
NATO posture on that issue is that the transformation is something that has to be decided by the institution in Kosovo. But what NATO is asking is that that transformation, that process, will happen under the constitutional change. So basically, if the transformation has to be done according to also the vote of the minorities. And that means that everybody should agree on this transformation. And this is the NATO posture. Now, looking into this process and analyze this process per se without any other, but from the technical point of view, let's say, this process will take 10 years. And
10 years for the
10 years,
forming a military, basically.
Exactly, and it's not one-day process, it's 10-year process. And they will double basically the strength of the level of the soldiers that they have. And the total strength will be no more than a brigade. So it's not a big issue for the region, for the stability of the region. But anyway, this is from the technical point of view. From the political point of view, there are some implications, and anyway, everybody has to deal with this implication. But basically, what NATO is stating is that if the transformation has to, has to happen, that this process has to follow the constitutional path.
So a process of, let's say, one, political, constitutional, but secondly, technical, training, organization, and so forth. I mean, you're saying that's a long process, 10-year process. Yeah,
it's not only a matter of recruiting, it's also a matter of to build the infrastructure, to build the new units, to train these people. Right. And but in any case, well, to assess what is the KSF level so far, it's absolutely a good level. If we consider what they are able to do.
How many people in KSF at the moment?
The strength is 2,500.
25,
okay. The total strength. But they are able to manage under their current mandate with natural disaster, and we are training them to enhance these capabilities. But their level is quite good. So we are training together, and we are trying to also increase their capabilities. And they are very efficient, they are very capable, and they are willing, of course, also to increase these capabilities. But we can do it only under their current mandate, that is civil defense.
Let me ask a sort of bigger picture question in terms of developments in Europe. Does, for example, Brexit, Britain leaving the European Union, and other, let's say, opposition to some of the policies from Brussels, even in your country, Italy, with the new government, does that affect NATO operations, particularly KFOR operation?
Not at all. I mean, whatever is happening within the EU environment is not affecting the NATO environment. So this is a paradox, but most of the time, what is happening within the EU has a different effect on the NATO side. This is because if you are decreasing your involvement and within the EU, most probably nations are increasing then their engagement with NATO. So this is producing different effects, and we have seen that.
It's an interesting point. Yeah.
I don't know if this is a coincidence or not, but having the British out on the way out of the EU.
Eventually.
Eventually, and they have increased their troops here in Kosovo. So that means that there's highest engagement with NATO. So I don't know if this is a coincidence, but can be a product of...
That's a fascinating point. One wonders, I mean, it demonstrates their commitment to European security, regardless of their commitment to the European Union.
Yeah. So the European Union was mostly an economic and political community. Is also trying to engage much more on the defense side, and we have several European missions around the world trying to stabilize the area of crisis. But basically, well, NATO is still there, and so this is absolutely a good point.
That's very interesting about European Union. What about the United States? There have been some, let's say, discordant voices from the White House, from our president regarding NATO. Does that affect NATO operations in any way?
Not for the time being. So whatever is the political decision, we do not have any effect on the ground. Right. I would say that the decision that the head of states are just taking at the highest level, well, they do have an effect on the ground, on the tactical level. Because whatever will happen on the tactical level, so on the ground, that comes from a political decision. The NAC, that is the North Atlantic Council, is the body that is taking decisions on what will be the posture of the alliance and what will be the engagements of the alliance. But for the time being, we have no effects on the ground. That means that the commitments to solve or to be part of the solution for some crisis are still in the interest of NATO, and this is very good. And this is something that, well, we are also part of the system, but there are no signal also that the crisis that we are managing with NATO will be affected by, I mean, for the horizon and the radar that I can have, they can be affected in the next days. I mean, let's see.
Well, one of the things that Trump is talking about is 2% spending GDP, which has been a commitment by NATO countries, although not every country has met. Although underneath that, I think it's more important to look at how much is actually spent on military. You can have a big defense budget, but a lot of it can go on pensions and salaries and other things. So in terms of how you see NATO spending, can it be more effective in terms of, let's say, bolstering military capabilities?
Well, this is a very difficult question because it's not easy to provide an answer to this question because that relies much more on the will of each single country to be compliant with this directive or this desire. Of course, providing more money to the military budget, that does mean that we are providing well, money to make war. The most of the time, military so budget, when the military budget is increasing, is also because related to the military budgets are the research, for example, the scientific research, and there are also developments that will affect also positively the society. If we consider that the most of the new creations they were in the military side due to the military research, and they have effects on the society, well, that will be also a benefit for the society. Now, to what extent the society can invest in each country can invest in its own military budget, this is something that is very complicated, and it's something that has to be decided by the single country according to their priorities and their politics. So it's very difficult to meet a benchmark. It's a big effort for everybody, but for the time being, I think that the most of the country, the majority of the NATO countries, they have demonstrated they're willing to be compliant with this benchmark.
Very last question, because we've run out of time. There is a lot of talk in the United States and some of the Central European countries about moving NATO bases from, and American troops also, from Germany and Italy eastward. In other words, to Poland, Baltic states, and so forth. Do you think that would make NATO more effective?
Well, for the time being, what is important is not where you are allocating your bases, but is the matter of deployability of your forces. So wherever they are, I mean, they are there. It's a deterrence in any case. If they are in Germany or in Italy, or even closer to the eastern border, let's say, this is not matter of where do you have your troops, but the capability to deploy your troops rapidly and also to the will to use it. So this is the real, I think, issue on which we should focus on.
You've given me a chance for a plug. I just finished a report with General Ben Hodges on this very question, the deployability, speed of reaction, speed of movement, speed of deterrence vis-a-vis, particularly on the eastern flank of NATO. General, thank you very much for joining me on the show. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, don't forget the south flank of NATO.
Also, we'll leave that for another time as well. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for joining me.
Unfortunately, we have already come to the end of today's show. I've greatly enjoyed being with you and my colleagues here at RTK. Good night, everyone. Stay healthy, be productive, and remain optimistic, and enjoy the rest of the summer. See you all very soon. Miro Pavshim.